So a lot of people have had trouble installing the helicopter kit into their helicopters, and I kind of expected that because it's actually really hard to do. But I'm going to show you how to do it. And to do this, you're going to want a welding plugin. I like to use this one by the Nexus Avenger, and that's the one you're going to see me using. Okay, so let's take a look at how this is laid out. Make sure you have the Explorer open. So we have, if we open the first model, we have regen, and then we have the actual helicopter. And in the helicopter, we have functionality and parts. In functionality, this is everything controlled by the heli kit. In parts, this is all the fuselage stuff that isn't controlled by scripts. So we need to relay this out so that it looks more like this. So let's go ahead and delete all the stuff that doesn't have parts in it. And we need to sort all this out. So let's create a model. Let's create two actually. And parts. Okay. Rename the driver's seat to pilot and put it in functionality for now. We can just delete this. That's part of the old kit. Vents we don't need. Order run and rotor 2. Okay, we'll keep that. I might replace the rotors later though. The old engine. We don't need that. That's for the body kit. What's in here? Seats. Doors. Now we do need doors. And we're gonna have to sort these out later. Most heli kits have an open and a closed model for the doors. I'm not sure if this one does or not. But that's gonna suck if it doesn't. And we have lights. Okay, let's take these lights. These flylight lights. And let's just name them exterior lights for now. All these seats. Is there a co-pilot seat in here? No, there's not. Cockpit doors. These are all one mesh, aside from the glass. Let's see, positive lights. We need these. Those are exterior lights. Alright, we'll worry about the doors in a moment. Let's see what else do we need. We need the gear. And let's find the landing gear. I wish the person that made this helicopter had grouped everything, but that's alright. Is this part of that? No, it is not. Let's check it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Alright, that's all our landing gear. Need rotors. Let's do the rotors next. Okay. So we have a rotor assembly here, and we need to get everything in here into one model so we can weld it later. Is this all one? No, it is not. Is this all one? Yes, it is. Okay. So call this rotor 1 and put it in functionality. Rotor 1 is the top rotor, and rotor 2 is the tail rotor. What's all this? So we can grab this. And yeah, okay. Rotor 2. Group these. Call them rotors. Exterior lights. Okay, does this have interior lights? No, it does not. Okay. So most helicopters won't actually come with lights on the inside, so I'm just gonna steal some from the Huey here. Oops, wrong one. Name interior, or interior lights to interior, and exterior lights to exterior. Just call this lights. Alright, let's find the center on x-axis. Let's copy that, and go to interior, paste it to X, and now it's in the center. And turn this on. And now I need to space these evenly to make sure the interior is lit up by the lights. I'm gonna crank the brightness up a little bit because this thing is really dark. Okay. So now we can just shut all those off. And we'll worry about welding those later. The last thing we need to do is the doors. And the doors are going to be kind of difficult because I don't think this Heli kit set them up to have a separate open and close model. But we will find out. Just get rid of this real quick. Nah. I don't think there's a separate model for open and closed. Okay. So in this case, there's only a closed model for the doors. That's alright, we'll work with it. We just need to get all the doors into a single model. And we'll just name this closed. Name that door 2. Door 2 is the back doors, door 1 is the cockpit doors. Door 7 to door 10 makes me think there's other doors, so I'm not sure. So this. Now we have cockpit doors. And we have the glass for them. Okay. So name that door 1. And drop it into functionality. Or drop it into doors actually. Oh wait, wrong one. And group those both and name them doors. Since we don't have an open model, when we open the doors, it won't show the doors in the open position. I need to close these because they keep confusing me. And I'll show you what I mean by open model in a second. Just make a new model, put in open. Okay, let's go over the Huey. So on the Huey, we have two door models. We have the open model and the closed model. And the closed model looks like this. And what the script does when it says you want to close the doors, it goes into this model, sets all the transparencies to 1 and can't collide false, goes into this model and makes it all visible, can't collide true, and sets it to the right transparency. The way it sets it to the right transparency, it reads this number value, original transparency, and this had an original transparency of 5, so it'll set it to 0.5 because this is glass. So we need to set the original transparency value for all the parts in here. Let's see, this is 0.6, so let's make this 0.6. And we'll make this 0 since that's solid. This is 0.25. And 0 for all of these. Okay. So that's our doors. And now we need to put everything in parts. Okay. Alright, now it's time to copy everything else into functionality. We need these 3 folders. So go ahead and copy those in. Just paste them into functionality. And we need these 2 parts, aim from and engine. We'll start with engine. The engine is the location where all the force in the helicopter gets applied from. And if the engine gets touched, the helicopter explodes. You want to make sure you line this up with the rotors. Make sure it has the same rotation, or else it won't fly straight. Okay. And if that's too wonky, we'll actually change it back. Now we need the aim part, or aim from. Now what the aim from does, this is the part that the heli steers from. It draws a vector from this part to where your mouse is aiming. and that's the vector that the helicopter uses to steer. So you want to put this inside the helicopter somewhere. Right here. And make sure you put this below the engine. Okay. Doesn't have to be exactly below, just ballpark. So that is aim from. Now we have to check the anchorness of everything. So just go ahead and unanchor everything. And you want to anchor 3 specific things. The engine and the 2 spinners in the rotor that I haven't actually set up yet, so we're going to do that next. All the rotors have a part called the spinner. Now the spinner faces horizontally, stops to the sky, and it rotates around like a spinning top when it animates. And you want to weld all your rotor blades and stuff to this spinner. I'm going to show you how to set this up. So make sure it has the same orientation. Where'd that spinner go? Check it. Paste it in there. Copy this position. Put it there. Make sure we're on local space. And that's good. And we'll do the same thing for the tail. We have to make sure this is lined up. Make sure this is in the center. Otherwise it'll spin around weirdly. Okay. Make sure these 2 are anchored, which they are. So now we have to start welding everything. And with a welding plugin, it's honestly pretty easy to do. But I'm gonna show you how I do it in just a second. I'm gonna take a drink of water. Because my mouth is dry as fuck. Okay. So welding is a little bit specific, and the reason why I don't automatically weld everything is because sometimes it can conflict with gear animations and stuff, and it's just easier to weld everything yourself. So for the rotors, you want to weld everything to the spinner. You want to weld the blades of the rotor to the spinner. And the spinner you don't want to weld to anything, because the spinner will weld to the engine automatically to set up for the animations. Go to the tail rotor, weld everything to the spinner there. And the rest of all this, all the parts, the pilot seat, the co-pilot seat, if we had one, and everything else that's not a rotor, you want to weld to the engine. So let's go ahead and do that. Where's parts? Stick a welding plug in, press engine. Control and shift to select like this, by the way. Control then shift. Control, shift. Makes life so much easier. Just press weld. If you go to engine, you can see all the welds we made. Actually, these are old welds. We don't need these. And this is a broken weld. But all of these are all active welds. Okay. So now we need the regen button. We need to rename this. Let's just rename this AS532. Go ahead and steal the regen button from another helicopter. Go right here. Parent the regen button to workspace. Select the 2, group them. Call this AS532 regen. Go into this regen script where it says operate, find where it says heli. Name this to whatever you named the helicopter. It'll go into here and it'll look for model named this, and that's how it'll regenerate it. Okay, I think that's all. And now we just need to test fly it. I forgot some. I forgot to insert the main script. So go into pilot seats, copy server, and go into functionality in the new helicopter. Just paste this. Go to Heli object value and set this to the helicopter, not the regen, the helicopter. And we can move this down a bit because it's actually pretty high up. Okay. So as you can see, the main rotors are a little bit off-center, so we can fix that. But as you can see, it's not taking off. If we go down here, we can see the helicopter's mass. It'll print the mass to the output. That is about 10,000. If we go over to Huey, and we show its mass, it's at 2,600. So how do we fix this? We just need to go into settings and increase the lift factor by, let's say, 5. So add a 0 to this, but I'm not going to do that. What am I going to do to fix this? Yeah, sure. Set that to 25,000, and we can wrap this up. This is how much force it used to turn, and I'm pretty sure the higher the mass, the higher that number needs to be. So this does take off, but it's aiming backwards. So let's see if we can fix that. To aim from, or is it engine? Maybe it is engine. Ah yes, it is engine, okay. We just need to spin this around. Make sure it's facing forward, so like front surface, make sure this is pointing forward. And now we do need to reweld everything, but that shouldn't take too long. And while we're at it, let's actually fix the main rotor, because this is not in the correct position. So let's see. I believe this is the center, so if we just set that to this, that should be in the very center of everything. Reweld this, and now we need to reweld the helicopter. So go ahead and open everything. Swap. Alright, and I'm not sure if I welded the pilot seat, so let me just reweld it just to make sure. Okay, let's just fly this again. No, it's still off. Okay. I'll fix that off camera. So as you can see, when we open the doors just kind of seem to disappear. They don't go off to the side. That's because I could not find an open door model for this helicopter. But I'll fix that. Because if we look at the door, it makes someone's screen disappear. Okay, so this flies alright. I feel like we could increase this a bit more. This horizontal torque multiplier is to control the horizontal torque when you steer. And the reason I have a multiplier for this is because some people don't want their helicopter to be able to turn left and right when it's on the ground. You want to find a sweet spot with this number where it's high enough that it won't turn sluggishly, but it's low enough that it won't be able to turn on the ground. Okay, I'm not sure if the SG2 has gear or retractable in gear. now we're just gonna assume it doesn't. Okay. So go to settings. Has gear really means has retractable landing gear. You can just uncheck that for now because I'm not gonna worry about that. Max fuel, let's check it. Is it gonna tell me? Max takeoff weight. Okay. Right, I'm just gonna assume that it has 1,000 liters. So just type 1,000 in there. Set the helicopter name to whatever you want. Fuel efficiency is how slow it uses fuel. I'm gonna set that to 100 because the French are bad at making engines. And lift factor we went over. Okay, go to stats. Door 1 open. Is the door open? No, it isn't. Uncheck that. Door 2 open. Is the door open? No, it isn't. Uncheck that. Fuel is internal. Gear down is internal. All these are internal. Okay. Let's check what else we need to fix. Do the lights work? The interior lights do, but they're too bright. And the exterior lights do not work. So let's fix that. Let's go into interior. And we'll set the brightness back to 1. Now the exterior lights are a bit tricky. Every helicopter has a different style of exterior lights. So you might have to get someone to write some code for you to control them. I'm not sure what I had for this one. But the event is lights outside. And it goes into exterior. And it tries to find point lights and surface lights. Okay. Let's see, flowy lights. I can't remember which one is constant and which one blinks. I believe Pausley is constant. Can I set this to neon? Will it glow? No, it won't because it's a mesh. Actually, maybe it will. Oh, it does. Well, okay. So I'm going to show you how I write my code for the exterior lights. Get a sentence. Let's see. These are all point lights, yeah? Okay, so we could actually use that. Pausley. Material to metal, I think they were before. Okay. Let's see what that looks like with them all on. Alright, it's pretty noticeable. Let me just set this to... Yeah, let's set it to 2. 8. Go ahead and set that, yeah. Leave it at 2. I'm actually going to crank that angle up. And we need to add spotlights. Oh, yeah, spotlights. Okay, so now when we turn the exterior lights on, it should light the Pausley lights up. And it should turn all the light objects on. It does not. Did I forget to weld them? No, they're still there. Okay, let's troubleshoot this. Stats, let's set on. That changes. That is not turning on for some reason. Okay, let's check it. Functional audit lights, exterior, get to sentence. Oh, there's a script controlling these. That's why. Yeah, get rid of that. So as you can see now, these will automatically turn on when you hit the switch. They look very nice. But now we need to make the floodlight lights blink. These are all red, one is white. Okay. I am gonna actually add the GUI to this. v.gui.enabled equals okay. And we are gonna make a while loop for the flowy lights. This is just gonna wait for the lights to turn on if they are not on. For blank feed pairs, functional deletes exterior get descendants. Feed.name equals, let's settle these names consistently. Then actually I'm gonna change this to only control the posi lights. This will control everything else. Okay. Then I'll wait half a second and it'll turn everything off. And it'll wait 1 second more. Okay. Let's shut all these lights off. And let's test it now. Come on. As you can see, they do work. I'm probably going to change the blinking duration because that was yeah, I'm going to change it to 2 seconds actually. And make it on for a little bit longer. Okay. Actually, it's too long. Let's do half a second. 1.5 seconds. Beautiful. Okay. The other thing I want to fix is the doors. Because the glass is not separate. The glass on the doors is not separate from the shield. So I don't want this to disappear. I just want the can collide to change. So let's go into door 1. Can collide equals open transp. Okay, we can just take out the line where it changes the transparency. And now with them open, we should be able to walk through them. Okay. I have an error from this controller here because of the landing gear. I'm not going to right landing gear, so we can just comment this out. Because I turned the gear off for this helicopter. Although it may actually have retractable landing gear. Looking at it, it does. So we do need to add that. I'm going to show you how to do that right now, or how I do it typically. So let's actually go ahead and uncomment this. Go to stats, check has gear, and let's just flip this thing over real quick. Let's see what we're dealing with. So this folds back into here. This. Oof, where does that fold? Does it fold back into there, I guess? And same with this one. Okay. So we can just go ahead and lift this up. This is why I really like this plugin, because you can create what's called motor 6Ds, which are used for stuff like landing gear animations. So how do we do this? Well, take apart, make a 1 by 1 by 1, make the front surface a motor, and make the back surface a motor. This is your rotation axis for your landing gear. So go and position this accordingly. And it'll rotate on this blue arrow's axis in game. I think that's good. I think that's what we want. So let's go to landing gear and group everything accordingly. Oh, did I leave some stuff out? Looks like I did. Okay. Set everything. No, it is not. Weird. Okay. I typically name this to rear assembly. Technically, you can name it whatever the hell you want. Oh, I don't know why I thought this this was the tailgate. Okay, whatever. I'll drop this into parts again. Because this is a front landing gear. I don't know why I thought it was a tail dragger. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get that, but call this front assembly. Okay. So the way I get parts inside of other parts, set move to like 10 or something. Drag this down, that allows you to select all of these. Let's just drag them into landing gear, drag everything back up, and it'll snap right back in place because you had the movement so high. Now we can sort all these. So this goes here, and that goes here. Okay, so we need to designate one of these parts in each assembly to be the main part that everything's welded to. So I'm going to do this part for the whole rear assembly back here, because these two wheels will be welded together. Okay. So now what we need to do is take the engine, select the part 0, part 2 is the engine, select the part 1, it is the main brick. Select the pivot point, this is your rotation axis. Click done, and it should show up in somewhere in here. Is this the right one? No, it's not, this is Heli. Motor, this is what we want. Go ahead and drag that into there for now. Alright, find your next rotation axis for the front landing gear. Do it like that, let's move it up a bit. Okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, let's do that. Select this part 0, need the engine, select the part 1, main part. Rotation axis is here. Okay, so let's just check this out of the way. Find the motor you created, drag it into here. Okay, let's take a look at what I wrote here. Retract. So we need to name this to retract. And we need to re-weld all the stuff in the gear to the main part. So do that. And let's go ahead and put this back on the ground. That works. So we've checked has gear, and we're gonna need to edit these rotational values. But let's just test fly it and see what it rotates to right now. Doesn't rotate at all. Doesn't rotate at all for some reason. Huh. So right. You need to set the max velocity in these. Set it to, I usually set it to 0.1, I believe. Otherwise, they will not spin. And it's still not spinning, good God. It does get set. They are not active though. Neither of these are active.